Okay, let's get started. This is the setup for the N-scale gate crossing. So we've got the motor here. We're using our power module. We have the single gate here. I built this little stand. A couple of things right off the bat. I really recommend that you get a couple of pieces of scrap wood, build a little platform, drill a 1/2-inch hole, and make use of this demo setup before you put it out on your layout. You're going to really appreciate doing that later on. All right. So the first thing we have to do is get these wires out of the way, so they're all off to the side. Feed this down through the hole. I'm using the 1-inch setup, so we got 3/4 plus 1/4. And in this case, I'm going to show you how to cut a custom wire, and then at the end I'm going to show you how it comes with the 1-inch wire already set up. But anyway, just slide this in. Next rule, never grab any of this part of the contraption. It's 3D printed. We've upgraded the resins to try to make them harder and more resilient, but it's still very delicate. So you can push and pull on the plug all you want, and we'll come back to getting the plug out. Actually, let me just do that right now. So how do you get the plug out? So one of the ways is to push it from the bottom, but I don't have the screwdriver. Okay, so we'll get that later. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is just connect this to the gate controller, and this is a 5-pin connector. A 4-pin on the right, 5-pin on the left. This won't go in here. It'll only go one way, the smooth side up, the wired side down, and just insert it in there gently. And what I'll do is just take my fingernails and push that in, all right? So the next thing is all of the gate controllers come with this plug in the wire. It's 24 inches long. I'm using the power module, and you can plug these wires any which way as long as they're on 2 adjacent terminals. Essentially it goes plus minus, plus minus, plus minus all the way across here. We didn't label them because any 2 adjacent wires will work, and the polarity for the gate controller doesn't matter. Okay, so let's turn it on, and the first thing that's going to happen here is the light is going to come on. It's going to blink 5 times and then go off. All right, now if it happens to, now you can see the heartbeat. So every about 4 seconds the heartbeat goes. Now it's possible, you'll notice this dial here. We used to have a screwdriver and everything. We've changed this dial. This makes things much easier to manage. So this is a trim potentiometer, trim pot we call it, and you'll notice it's white. If I slide this in either direction, the white disappears and the light comes on, all right? So this is going to be used to adjust the brightness, the speed of the flashing, and the adjustment for the motor. And so it works in the following way. It has a center position off, all right? When you turn it one way, the dial activates the motor and these things and makes them brighter or faster, whatever, in one direction. If you turn the dial the other way, it does the opposite. You know it's in the center position when the white is showing neatly on both sides. Okay, so you can see that. All right, hope you can see that. Okay, so next thing that we're going to do is review the instruction card here. So this is in your book, and there are 2 ways to do configurations. One is when you just push the button over here. It's called the select button, and you just push it, and this is what will happen. So if you push it once, it saves or exits a particular mode that you might be in, and we'll use that in a couple of minutes. Manual mode actually activates the gate in manual mode, makes it go down and wait. You push it again twice and it will come back up. All right, we won't use that right now or any of these on the immediate mode, but what we will do is use the configuration mode, and I want to show you how that works. All right, so you can adjust the brightness of the LEDs, and we want to do this first. This is one of those cases where we're not out on the layout. We just have the lights hooked up, and I want to adjust the LED 1 and 2, essentially the brightness of the two lamps. So the way to do that is to press and hold the configuration button, I'm pressing and holding, until the light comes back on and starts blinking, okay? All right, now to adjust the LEDs, I press the button 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the LEDs come on. Now they're going to be on at the brightness of the middle position. So if I dial this up, they become brighter. If I dial this to the left, they extinguish or go brighter or less bright. All right, so whatever setting you want, it's just newly set each time. So it doesn't really remember it once you go into this mode. It's whatever the dial is set. Now, let's say that I want to set it right about there, not too bright. And the way I finish this is with the save exit. So I'm going to press this once. And you'll notice the light didn't go out because, and it's going to stay on, because I haven't returned this to the center position. Remember, I was adjusting it for the light. Now, to get everything back to operating mode, I move this to the center position, and you'll notice that the lights went out. So that's the way that works. There is an adjustment for an LED 3 in here, and that's for use when we get to the semaphores, and that's coming later in a few months. The next thing you can do is adjust the flash speed. So once you've saved and exit, you're out of configuration mode. So to enter configuration mode again, I do the same thing. I'm going to hold the button, the light will stay off, and then come back on. I release the button, and the blinking tells me I'm now in configuration mode. I want to adjust the flasher speed. So I'm going to push this 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you can see that it's relatively slow, and again, we have the trim pot in the center position. So if I want to make this go faster or slower, I adjust this dial. So I can make it go really fast, or I can make it go really slow. And just adjust it to the speed that you would like, something like that. Now you notice I'm out of the white zone right here. So when I push the save, the lights will go on and stay on until I adjust this dial back to the center position, and we're all done. So that tells me the lights are working, the controller's working. That's the basic setup for step number 1. Okay, let's go on to the next step. We're going to hook up the motor, and we're going to just play with the motor outside of the setup there, or just plug it in, same sort of deal. And a couple of things about the motor. 4 wires, 4-wire connector. There's a little gear here, and you can see in the N scale version there are 3 holes. Magnets on top, so the orientation is going to be like this under the layout. Now when you get this, the holes aren't, the wheel may not, more than likely is not going to be in the position you want to start with. But for now, the first thing we want to do is make sure that the gate controller is driving the gear. So we're going to use the manual mode here. I'm going to use that quite a bit as we set this up. So I'm just going to push the button twice, and the lights come on as before, and now you should be able to see the motor moving. Okay? And it's moving in a clockwise direction because that's the way the motor goes for the down position. For the up position, so it's in the down position here, we're going to press twice again, and it's going to go counterclockwise to get back to the up position. All right? Now, the distance, let's let that finish up. Okay? So the next thing, actually, I'm going to put this on its side. The reason for this is I can move this around and play with it. I'm going to tape, simply use some Scotch tape and tape the wires so they're out of the way. Leave a little bit of slack, but not much. Okay? All right, so we just have, your kit comes with a pre-configured wire that looks like this. Okay? And notice that the angle is bent on the same side it's not based on perpendicular. So you can make it this way, or one where this is to the right and this is to the left, but don't make it to the right and then out. All right, so there's some more information in the manual about that. Okay, so that's what it's going to come with, and you're going to just be able to put the metal pad in, put the motor on, and pretty good chance it's going to be very close to the 1-inch setting, and we've pre-bent the wire. In this case, the wire is for a case where maybe you have to have the wire remotely further away. Maybe you have a lot of foam or scenery, and so your platform might be down here, and we give you this extra length of wire, and we're going to show you how you set it up and bend it. So right now we're going to assume that it's at the platform for the 1-inch plug, and that's what we're doing here. So the first thing really simple is I'm just going to take this. Now you know that the gate is going in this direction, right? So what we want is the motor to be perpendicular to that. All right, so we're going to put the motor down on this side, and I'm just going to put this little pad. You get 2 of these. So this one is going to be for our test board, and just mount it there. Don't cover the hole, just past the hole. And as I said, we love magnets here at Model Train Technology, and the motor slides around a little bit and it will feed into there. Now, what we're going to do is bend the rod so it fits into one of these holes, and when the motor turns, the arm goes up and down, okay? And we want to have a bias a little bit away from the arm, particularly for the 1-inch plug. So just move it slightly off center. It'll work in pretty much a whole bunch of situations here, forward and back. It's pretty flexible, and even if the arm gets too much, the arm may push the motor off the pad, and we'll do that sort of as a fail-safe so it doesn't break it. So that's quite an interesting design feature that we built in. Okay, so I've measured this already. For the N scale arm, the distance that the wire travels is 5 millimeters. That's pretty short. So on this motor, the hole that travels from the top going around to the bottom is the smallest hole. It's 5 millimeters right there. Okay, so that's the hole that we want to use. Now there are 2 other holes that are further away and can travel a further distance. And the purpose behind those, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but the basics are that if the motor ends up not being in the right place in the distance, you can still use these other holes to help you pick one of the holes and then adjust the amount of rotation to satisfy moving the arm up and down. So there's a lot of flexibility. We're going to use the standard middle hole, which is designed for the 1-inch, so the travel for the standard plugs. All the plugs, they're all set up, the wires bent differently. All right, so that's the first step. All right, now what we want to do is mark the wire, and there are a couple of things that we need to work on. So I've got this base, and this is one of the reasons why I really think you want to build one of these, so that you can set everything up while this is horizontal, because the gate will just keep falling down if you put it right side up. So when we put it on its side, the gate will stay there and the wire will stay in place. The next thing is that on the motor, you can see that the dot that's closest to the center is at about the 90-degree position. So one of the functions in the motor controller is to raise this back to the top. It really just turns it counterclockwise. It's 3 pushes of the button, and I'm going to do that now. And you can see that the motor is turning counterclockwise, and we want to stop it with 1 button push when it gets right at top dead center, which is right there. Okay, so that is where we want to mark the wire. I'm just going to make sure that we're at the top on the box, and I'm just going to make a mark on the wire right there. And it doesn't look like much, but when we take this out, you'll be able to see that. So the idea here is now with that mark, I'm going to bend the wire back towards the motor and fit it into that hole. To bend the wire, we need to remove the whole assembly. Don't try to bend the wire while it's installed under the layout or even in this test one. So what I'm going to do is just pop off the retaining Scotch tape, all right, and turn it on its side. And as I mentioned before, you do not want to pull on any of these pieces. You can use the screwdriver, a butter knife, whatever you have handy, and the idea is to just use this to sort of pry it out enough so that you can grab the plug and pull the plug out by itself. All right, that's the way to do that, and we don't need to pull it out the whole way. And then with the wire out of the way, what I'm going to do this close up. I'm too far away with the camera, but what I'm going to do is hold the wire right above the dot, because there'll be a little bit of when the metal's bent, it'll use up some of that, so that this wire is facing, actually it's going to go straight back, and you hold the wire here with the pliers, not on the bottom and bend it, but on the top part. So we just bend that wire across. This is an update to the way to bend the pipe. I decided, after doing a bunch of these, so the way the pin is connected here, you can see on the in there, and there's enough room. So a couple of things. The wire will not come out because of this slot when it's mounted, but when you push the gate all the way up, it's possible to unhook the metal and take it out. And I recommend you do that to bend the metal, because a couple of times I put the pliers on, and the angle here was a little bit off from the angle down here, and I wanted them to be perpendicular or parallel, I guess it would be. And so the best way to do that was to take the wire out. To put the wire back in, I simply insert it back up through the hole and turn it in towards the hole. I can manipulate it and then just pop it back in. Okay, so it's pretty simple. You can't quite get the force to get it out, which is good. You just take some needle nose pliers and just pop it out, and it comes out very easily. And so as a result of that, we're going to have everyone bend their own metal, because the other thing that we discovered, even though we have this set up with a 1-inch pad, each of the gates is just a fraction slightly different in the height, all of the different things, and one size actuator arm, this little piano wire, didn't quite work. So we will put one in the box, but it'll be a little bit off possibly, and so we're going to give you a couple of extra of these metal. You can bend them yourself and put them up here. The angle for this top piece, we've already bent them for you, so you don't have to do this top one. So all you'll be doing is bending the bottom one where the mark is, and you can see, let me see if I can get there. So you can see I have two marks there. I did a measure twice, cut once. So the bottom mark is where I'm going to bend, and I'm going to bend it by using the flat part of the tweezers here, or the pliers, and getting it lined up exactly this little spot here. So I want the angle to be perfectly bent up and down. Okay, and so it's not quite ready, not quite ready, not quite ready. There we go. And so let me just get my location again. There it is. And there you go. And just bending it up, just one push, and that's it. You're done. Okay? And now we're going to cut this off with the other cutters. Let's do that. Just cut it. Probably don't need more than about 3/8 of an inch, really. Makes it a little easier. If you go to 1/2 inch, it just barely fits into the hole, and you have to fuss with it. So anyway, that's it. That's all you need to do. Reinsert it into the crossing gate. Go to the back here. Twist it so that it's facing in. You can see that. You see the little hole. And Here's the little hole. There it is. Okay. And now we've got the crossing gate back up and running. So I think this is good for you to be able to do this because you may want to move the gate, and just being able to adjust the wire and make your own will give you a lot of flexibility in how you set it up on the layout. Okay, now that I have the wire bent at a 90-degree angle, I'm going to trim it off because it won't go back into the hole that way. And I just need to cut it so that it's about a ½ an inch, right about that amount. And with the hardened clippers, it's a piece of cake. And then we're just going to feed this back down into the hole. See, it's coming out there. Got to get that wire just a little bit shorter. There we go. Okay, so we're back in business and we have the wire sticking out on the back side there. And I'm going to just clean up this wire and then I'll give you a close-up look of that. Okay, so now we're going to take the motor and just put it on here and slide it, and if we have any luck, it will go right into the hole. Look at that, beautiful. And we're going to just, like I said, bias it to the right a little bit, and that should be good. And the gate is vertical, so that, let's zoom out so you can see that. So that's the setup right there. Okay, so now we're going to run it through its paces. That's really all there is to setting up the motor. Again, you might want to slide it around or set it. You've got some adjustment, no screws or anything. It's just the right height. And the gate's going to go down when we push the motor. Let's just do that while we've got it set this way. I'm going to press the button twice for the manual mode. 1, 2. And there it goes. And it's going to go down to the bottom of the circle. Now it's a little bit low, and I'll show you how to correct that. That's intentional to give you a little bit of wiggle room, let's call it, so you can adjust the up and down. So I'm going to send it back 2 more presses. It will reverse direction, and the arm will go back up. There we go. Okay, we've got some wires and things to clean up in there, so it'll go up a little higher. Okay, good. Okay, we're ready to fine-tune the motion of the gate. It's in the up position. The wheel is at the top dead center, okay? So we're going to just put it in manual mode, and it's going to go and lower the gate to what it thinks is the lowest position. Now, I've adjusted this to show you exactly what's going on here. Now the wire, the hole, is not in the top down position. It's not all the way down. And so the gate's a little bit high, not by much, but so what we're going to do is, while it's in this down position, I'm going to turn the knob here and put it into the fine adjustment mode. And while that happens, the light here will go on. That tells you that the motor is running. I just did it for a little bit, and whoops. Let's see, I think I did it the wrong way. Yeah, so here I'm going to adjust it so it gets to the very bottom position right there, and that's it. And I turn this off. Now, a couple of things happened. When you have this out of the center position, in other words, when it's the white is not completely evenly showing, the blue LED will go on solid, and that tells you the motor's running. And generally speaking, when the motor's running, the blue light will be solid. Okay. I motioned it, moved the motor so that it was in the very down position, and once I turn this back to the center, meaning turning off the motor, it records what that position is in the stepper motor. So it knows how many clicks, if you will, it took to get to that bottom. So we're going to go back up to the top. We're going to manual mode, we're going to activate it and have it go, have the arm go back up. And so that's still the top dead center position, and now we have a new revised lower position. I'm just going to activate the gate again, and it's going to go down. And that's it. Okay, so you can fine-tune that quite a bit, but that's the basic concept. We custom cut the wire, we custom adjusted the spinning of the wheel. Now, in this case, the wheel, since we're using this center, this hole that's closest to the center, we're using the entire rotation. Well, it's really half rotation to go the 5 millimeters that is necessary for the gate to go up and down. If we were to use one of the other holes, we would get more than 5 millimeters of travel, which means that if we started the hole at the top dead center and ran it down, the motor would push off or something like that. So what you have to do is adjust both the top and the bottom so that you get exactly the 5 millimeter movement using another hole. So it's still going to be 5 millimeters going up and down. You're just using a different hole and a different amount of rotation to accomplish that. There's a picture in the book. Now that I've explained it, I think that picture in the book will make a little bit more sense. But the idea is you can use any hole as long as you create a start position and a stop position that makes the arm move in a 5 millimeter increment. That's for the N scale. The HO is a little bit longer than that. Okay, so that's how that works. And that'll be particularly the case, more than likely, if you have a very long extended wire. Even though you can try to cut it so that it matches the hole, that's the ideal. You know, in the layout, foam adjustments and so forth, it's designed to give you almost complete control over how much movement there is and which hole you want to use so that it fits the motor here. All right, so that's the concept there. Now, I'm going to start it in the back up into the up position. Just press the button twice, and it's going, and I'm going to kill the power. Now, the motor does not remember where the top position is. It just remembers it based on when it was powered up. So you want to have all your gates always in the up position when you turn off the power. Don't do it while they're in motion. But things happen, right? The power could go off or disconnected or whatever. So now it doesn't know, it thinks this is the top dead position. But it still does remember how many ticks it took to make that revolution, that adjustment. So what we can do, we've built in a feature for that. So we let the controller start up, the flashers are on, the light is off. Now I'm going to push this 3 times, not twice, but 3 times, and I know it's going to always go in the up position. When you use manual mode, it goes down for 2 pushes, then you push it again, it goes up for 2 pushes. If you use 3 pushes, it'll always go in the up direction. And I'm going to use the 1 push button to stop it. So 1, 2, 3, the motor will go, and as soon as it gets to the top center, I press the button once. And now it's recalibrated. We can do the manual mode, and it will go down. That is now the starting position. So that's another reason why we changed things around here. So you can see, well, let's go back up. It's not quite the top center. Let's go back up again. And there it goes. All right, so now if you have to adjust it a little bit, you can also adjust at the top. All right, so using this, having this wheel here, instead of trying to do this with a screwdriver, it's just a whole lot easier. So you can adjust the top. Now we should get a more complete movement of the gate. Okay, and we can adjust it further if we like. Okay, so that's the setup for configuring and adjusting the gate motion. All right, one other piece of advice after going through dozens of these in practicing and installing. I recommend that you cut the wire to about 1/4 of an inch. I had in an earlier part of this video talked about a 1/2 inch, but because of the way this sets and the hole being a 1/2 inch, this little end got caught up in the hole several times. So when you put this in the hole, you want to make sure that you kind of keep this part as much in the center as you can, and then it will drop in properly. Same thing coming out. Let me get it started so I'm not pulling on the part, I'm just pulling on the plug. What I noticed is that this, I pulled it out partially, this was getting hung up on the edge of the hole. And so you really have to make sure that this, when you take it out, that this ends up inside the hole. And what I did is I turned it back and forth to free it up from the edge of the hole. So what I was doing is turning the plug very gently like this while I was taking it out to avoid getting this little L shape hung up on either the edge of the hole because it was pushed over, or on the edge of the rough cut plywood, or if you have styrofoam, you know, whatever that is. So that helps you get this out without damaging anything and keeping all the parts intact. So that's a good just sort of how-to recommendation. One other thing, while we're at it, we have this sample piece. There's a little circuit board here, and the reason for the circuit board is I got tired of soldering these very fine wires and trying to twist them and solder them to other wires. So we made this little circuit board. It takes about 10 seconds for me to solder, or the team to solder the connections of the 4 wires, and then there's a 3-wire junction for the part that plugs in to the circuit, and that works just great. So that made all of that way easier. And there you go. So hope you enjoy that. If you have any questions, call us, email us. We'll be happy to help you however we can. Thank you. For this last segment, we're going to talk about a situation where the wire doesn't line up quite where you want the motor to go. We're going to use the HO crossing, but the technique is the same. We've been using the N-scale crossing gate so far in this video. We're going to use the HO one here, but the principle is the same. So there's some step-by-step instructions in the manual on what we're going to do here, but video is going to be much easier. So right now the motor wheel is just in a kind of random place. So the first thing that I want to do is move it so that the second dot is in the top dead center. Top dead center is facing up that way through the layout. Now the first hole, as we used, the wheel looked a little different, but this is the wheel that is the production wheel. That first hole is for N scale, and that means that when the hole goes from here to 180 degrees, the distance that the wire will travel will be 5 millimeters. But the HO one is going to be a little bit longer than that, so we need to adjust. And the second hole out of as default is the one to use for HO. Now I bent this wire in a little bit of an odd position to demonstrate what happens when you do that, and not to worry and not to panic, because there's a way to make the gate crossing work just fine. And we took that into consideration. That's why this is so simple. It's actually quite elegant in the sense that you can make a lot of fine-tune adjustments and make it work however you have it set up. So what we're going to do is use the top alignment mode, which is 3 push buttons. So 1, 2, 3. And always that mode, top alignment, as shown in the chart, is going to go counterclockwise. And you can see the top dot now is coming into play at the very top of this, sort of up is that way. And what I'm going to do is stop it when the second dot gets to be about top dead center, because that's the standard HO hole location. So I'm going to push this wire up so that the gate is in the up position. I don't know if you can quite see that. Yeah, you can see that at the top of the screen. So in that case, the hole location that we have now would normally be the top dead center. And it's close. It's not perfect, but it's close. Okay? so we can fine tune that. Now, normally the gate arm isn't perfectly vertical, so this would be perfect. This would be fine. But what happens is I'm going to do manual mode now, which is going to make this go 180 degrees. And there it goes, 2 presses, and the motor's moving. You can see the arm coming down. And it's now at the bottom, and it stops. That's what it's supposed to do, 180 degrees. And the arm is not quite all the way down. So if that's okay with you, you can leave it that way. And because it's at the bottom, there's no way to make it come further down. So what we're going to do is we're going to release the motor, have it go back up to the top dead center. Okay, and that's where we were before. But I want to use the next hole because that'll allow me to pull that gate down a little bit further and fine tune it. So 1, 2, 3. It's not going to go very far. And now that other hole is top dead center. And what do you know? That hole slides right in there. And actually the gate is a little bit more vertical at the moment. So that might be desirable. And that's how you do it. Now if we run this all the way down, it's going to pull the gate further than it's supposed to because that travel distance is too far. So I'm going to slide it off the pin. This is a critical step. Slide it off the pin and then go into manual mode. Okay, the wheel is going to turn by itself. All right, and you can see that not only did this third hole go past the bottom, but it's going to be quite a distance. It would be further than the gate arm. It doesn't go down that far. So what we want to do is lower this to approximately the horizontal position of the gate. So I did that with my finger. And now I'm going to go backwards using the thumb wheel so that I can find the place where that hole will fit perfectly right there. Okay, so that's the third hole. 1, 2, 3. And the gate is in a perfectly horizontal position. Okay, that's what we want. So now I'm going to push the manual mode to make it go back up to top dead center. 1, 2. And now the gate is perfectly vertical and you're all done. That's how easy it is. So again, don't try to use the other 3 holes, 1, 2, 3, the longer ones connected to the wire. Pull the motor away and practice with getting the holes in the right location, top center and bottom, and then you can mount the hole in. It'll just slide right in, and we'll make it go down again. And I have the lights unplugged just to keep things simple. Don't worry about the lights not working. So now that gate arm is going to go all the way down. Okay, and it's even we can make it go a little further. So we could fine tune using the thumb wheel, and the controller remembers that location, and it will go up and down from there. You might have to do it a couple of times just to fine tune it as the wheel and the motor get synced up. So in this case, the wheel is not turning 180 degrees. It's turning something less than 180 degrees. And that's fine. That range is enough with the outer holes to move the gate arm up and down. So a couple of different things. If for some reason it was way off, like down here, again, quite a number of millimeters off, you could still find the adjustments to make the gate work just fine. All right. So that's the case where, well, you didn't bend it quite perfectly, but that's okay. And just put this back in and adjust that a little bit, and there you have it. Okay. So that's the end of this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope that was useful. Email me or email the support team, support@modeltraintechnology.com. And of course, you can always call us on the phone, 407-242-5436.